Hey everybody, it's Ron from Pick Dawgz, and this is Ron's Bank Shop Breakdown. We're going to go over 5 college basketball games for Wednesday, January 10th, 2024. Now, if you like what you see, make sure to give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comment section below. And if you're looking for my best bets, including my college basketball bank shop best bet, you can find those in the premium picks tab at pickdawgz.com. Alrighty, let's get into it. Here are the games for Wednesday in college hoops. First up, we see Purdue-Fort Wayne taking on Youngstown State. This one's going to be 6:30 Eastern. It's going to be on ESPN+. Now, we saw Purdue-Fort Wayne's defense really struggle, and I should say really struggle is an understatement, in that game against Wright State. 106-98, the final score. You couldn't get a stop in that game. Both halves, Wright State scored 50-plus points, and it was just an ugly game defensively. The offense was fine, but I worry about that defense going forward, especially in a true road game, and especially against another tough team in Youngstown State. This is a solid Penguins team. While they haven't been in the best of form recently, they didn't open conference play in the best of form, losing 2 of their last games to Oakland and Northern Kentucky. I like what I saw from them in their last game against IUPUI, a bounce-back double-digit victory in that one. And I think going forward, the Penguins are going to be one of the better teams in this Horizon League, a pretty competitive Horizon League this year. And I like the home court advantage that the Penguins have in this game. They take care of the basketball. They also have a big advantage on the glass in this game. And, the Youngstown State, a good defensive rebounding team, a decent offensive rebounding team. Purdue-Fort Wayne, one of the worst rebounding teams in college basketball. So I do think Youngstown State has a big edge on the glass. And I think their offense is a big day against a Purdue-Fort Wayne defense that I do not trust right now. I'm going to take Youngstown State in this game. Next up, we see Oklahoma and TCU. This one's going to be a 9 p.m. Eastern start time. It's going to be on ESPN2. Now, I got to give credit to Oklahoma. Didn't love their chances in that last game against Iowa State, but the Sooners found the W and the cover in the end, 71-63. They're now 13-1 this season, 1-0 in conference play. But I don't love their chances in this game either, and this time I think TCU takes care of business for us. Oklahoma has only played in one semi-road game this season. They haven't played a true road game yet this year until, this game against TCU. And in that semi-road game against North Carolina, that was the only loss of the season for the Sooners. A double-digit loss, 81-69, where they weren't really competitive in that one. And now, on the road against a TCU team that played really tough against Kansas, obviously one of the best teams in college basketball programs, and one of the toughest places to play in Kansas. It was only a 2-point loss, 83-81. No shame in that loss for TCU. They played the tougher schedule, in my opinion. And I think, they're a fundamentally sound team that forces turnovers. They're strong on the glass. Pretty good shooting team. They're balanced, top 40 in both adjusted offensive and defensive efficiency. You don't see that a ton, with some of these teams. And good shooting team from the free throw line, from 2-point range. I think TCU with the home court advantage, their style of play, they like to speed things up. I think it's going to be too much for Oklahoma in their first true road game of the season. So give me TCU. I'm going to lay the points. Next up, we see Boston College taking on Syracuse. This one's going to be a 9 p.m. Eastern start time. It's going to be on the ACC network. In college sports, a lot more than professional sports, we see a lot of the rosters change year after year with teams losing, especially, nowadays with a lot of players leaving early to go to the, NBA or NFL draft. We see a lot of these rosters change, and it's not always the most valuable looking at season series history and, past years and how these teams played against each other, in years prior. But sometimes when you see a matchup like this where, one program has just dominated the other, it's tough not to notice it. I mean, Syracuse has just absolutely dominated Boston College basketball in the last decade or so, and especially at the Carrier Dome, where the last time that Boston and these teams play, virtually every single season, twice a year, so one home game, one road game. The last time that Boston College beat Syracuse in the Carrier Dome was back on February 19th of 2014, and that was actually an interesting game because Syracuse at the time going into that game was 25-0. They were the number one team in the country, and it was a huge upset loss for Syracuse to lose that game in overtime, 62-59. But since that huge upset loss, Syracuse has taken care of business against Boston College, and a lot of the wins at the Carrier Dome by double digits. So while, this year's Syracuse team nowhere near as strong as some of the Syracuse teams we saw, 10 years ago, I still think Syracuse plays well in this spot. They match up well at Boston College, and I like their chances in this game. Syracuse coming off the loss to Duke wasn't a great game, obviously 20-point loss, but they return home. They're a really tough team to beat in the Carrier Dome. Boston College has not been great on the road in recent years, and like I said, at the Carrier Dome in recent years, and Boston College coming off a nice win against Georgia Tech, but I don't love that Georgia Tech team, so I'm not sure how impressive that victory is. And before that, their 2 other ACC games, they lost to Wake Forest and NC State. They were competitive, but I just think Syracuse, a team that has Boston College's number, it's tough to go against it. They match up well. I'm going to take the Syracuse Orange and lay the points at the Carrier Dome in this one. Next up, we see Florida and Ole Miss. This one's going to be 9 p.m. Eastern. It's going to be on ESPNU. We saw Ole Miss take its first loss of the season at Tennessee. We faded the Rebels in that game, and that was a 90-64 blowout win for Tennessee. While I don't think this game's going to be a blowout, I like the Gators' chances in this game. Florida has taken on a pretty tough schedule, and they've struggled in a lot of their step-up games. They lost to Virginia, Baylor, Wake Forest, and Kentucky, the toughest teams on their schedule so far. But they've been competitive in a lot of those games. We saw the Virginia game was close. The Baylor game went down to the wire. Of course, the Kentucky game, Florida was up big at halftime. They were up big in the first half. They blew the lead in the end, and it was a 2-point loss, a tough loss for the program to take. But I still think Florida's been really competitive this year, and a team you still want to watch out for. And I like the fundamental advantages they have in this game. Ole Miss, not a good rebounding team. They're 319th in defensive rebounding percentage. That's a big problem for, going up against a team like Florida, who's 6th in the country in offensive rebounding, has a lot of size, and I do think they have a big front court advantage. Even though you got Sharp for Ole Miss, the Gators still have a really big size advantage in this game overall. I also think they have the better backcourt as well. I think Walter Clayton, we've seen him struggle at times, but I still think he's a star in the SEC, and he's going to be somebody to watch out for in conference play. Florida, it's tough to bounce back from tough losses like that to rivals at home sometimes, but I think this is honestly a must-win game for the Gators to get a resume-boosting win on the road against a team with a good record, but a team I think has been overrated and overvalued all season. I think when you look at the strength of schedule, just Ole Miss hasn't really been tested much, and now we see them start to get tested. We saw them play a tough opponent like Tennessee, and they folded. So give me Florida. I'm going to take them on the money line this game. Next up, we see the Cal-Colorado game. This one's going to be 11 p.m. Eastern on ESPNU. And by the way, I said Florida-Ole Miss is on ESPNU. It's actually on the SEC network. But nonetheless, in this matchup, Cal, we finally saw this team play to its full potential in its last game against UCLA. And while it's a rebuilding team for UCLA this year, nowhere near as talented as, the last couple of seasons. But still, an impressive victory for Cal to go on the road and take the lead from the beginning and never look back in that game, winning the game outright as a pretty sizable dog by 9 points, 66-57, the final score. And there's a reason why on the Bank Shop Breakdown in the premium area, I've mentioned a few times that I'm not ready to give up on this Cal team despite the bad record and the KenPom ratings. This is still a team I think is undervalued, underrated. When you look at the shot quality numbers, you look at the fact that they're a really good rebounding team. I think that this Cal team is a team that's going to pull off a few upsets in conference play. Maybe this is one of those games. Colorado, I just can't trust them on the road right now. And they've lost they played 3 true road games this season. They lost all 3 of those games straight up. The game to Colorado State by 5 points. They lost to Arizona by 47 points, 97-50. And they lost their last game on the road to Arizona State by 3, 76-73. So this is a tough spot to go on your 3rd straight true road game when you're already struggling. Playing a Cal team has probably got some confidence now after that victory against UCLA, but has no time to slow down because they're still 1-3 in conference play. So they're looking for another W. I like Cal in this game to keep it close at least, maybe pull off another upset. Give me the points with the Cal Bears in this one to end the night. And that's it. Those are the games for Wednesday in college basketball. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe. And don't forget to put your college basketball picks in the comments section below. Again, if you're looking for my best bets, you can find those at Pick Dawgz Premium. As always, this is Romanelli. Good luck.